Good evening, folks, and welcome back. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties here, but I'm hoping everybody can see me just fine. I am joined tonight by Adam Nachbauer of Lake Brewing up in Sylvan Lake. Good evening, Adam. Welcome. You know, I'm having a great night. You know, technical difficulty blues. You know, this is our second video launch, but you know, we're doing our best. We may have to just reboot this whole thing in 5 minutes. We don't know yet, but we're going to do our best. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Snake Lake and a little bit about your own background in beer?
As kind of a change of career, we're all trades guys, the core partner group, and we were looking for something different. We're all home brewers. We appreciate all grain, like craft brewing. We've been doing that for a while, and that's actually what kind of got everything started, was just the process of it and how much fun it was and therapeutic. And like, it's such, beer's cool. And the more you get into it, the more you learn, and the more stuff is brought up that you didn't even know existed. So the deeper you get into it, the more interesting it is. And sooner or later, we were actually, my partner and I, Bill, business partner, let's clarify that. We were looking at doing a homebrew shop. That's where it started. We wanted to build a homebrew shop and sell kettles and mash tuns and chillers and everything you need to do it at home. Just help get more people kickstarted into a fun hobby. And as we got looking into it, we started looking for a brick and mortar building, and went from there to where would we put this thing and where's a good place to do it. And Sylvan Lake was still without a brewery at that point, and it kind of stemmed to there. We ended up one night, we were homebrewing at Bill's house, and went from homebrew shop to we need to put a brewery in Sylvan Lake. So here we are 2.5 years later, and it's been a crazy ride. It's been a lot of fun, and we are really, really enjoying it, and we're very proud of the beers we put out of here.
Well, that's awesome. I know I had your beers for the first time, actually, I think at OJ's West, because Jeff's had your stuff on tap basically from the very start. So I think the first one I had from yours was probably a Sidewinder, and now we've had that for about a year and change now on the shelves. But you guys have been rolling out some really exciting new stuff in the Brighter Horizons, the TACO IPA. I know the Commodore Stout's been out for a while, but we haven't had it in the tall cans until just now. But we're going to start with a little bit of Alberta beer history here with the Blindman River Session. Now, famously, we talked about this when we had Shane from Blindman on. I actually didn't like this beer the first time I had it, and I was like, oh no, another Alberta craft brewery. Well, this will just be boring. And it actually took him having to try a little bit, and I eventually came completely around on Blindman. But it's still kind of a running joke. It's like, yeah, well, don't get too high and mighty. You were wrong about Blindman. So let's talk a little bit about this beer and your relationship with Blindman, and what it means to you, like what this beer meant to you when it came out back in, 2014?
Yeah, so for starters, I don't know, are you drinking right now? I can't see you.
I do. I just opened the very first beer. Oh, apparently we've got comments. Can people see me? Okay, I can't see the video for Toffee, but apparently everyone else can, so that's all that matters.
Perfect.
And let this be, part 25 in our continuing series on why I hate this tablet so much.
Right on. So kind of this backstory for me and Blindman is when we've got a really good relationship with these guys. They're amazing neighbors. They're great to be around. We've learned a lot from them. From the start, right from the very beginning, it's pretty safe to say that a lot of us have started into our beer lives drinking mainstream beers. That's what was available at the time. We didn't have this amazing portfolio of craft breweries throughout Alberta that we could choose from or try new things or that were expanding.
Oh, I know. I've been selling craft beer since 2000. It's a whole new world now.
So I was obviously part of that mainstream beer drinking population. And I remember the first time I tried craft beer was Blindman Session Ale. And it was different, right? Like you're getting flavors you didn't know existed. And there's aromas that come off of it. And it's so easy to drink. And opposite of you, I really liked it, and I was instantly hooked. Like, even the can, to me, it drew me in. The colors, the labeling, how, like, Blindman River for us is 10 minutes down the road. Like, that's not far. So it was really cool to see. Like, Justin, a good friend of mine, came out to work. I was a heavy duty mechanic at the time. We were pulling wrenches, and he came out and said, hey, like, Lacombe got a brewery. And to me, I didn't even know what that meant at the time. I was like, oh, that's cool, those guys are making beer, that's sweet. But what it did is it expanded. Like, everyone's that's a beer drinker is in kind of, we got a box, right? Like, we're in a beer drinker box, and now with the craft beer, exploding all over the province, you get to step out of that box. And so what I want to do with our beers we got today, including the Blindman River Session, we want to get people out of that box and figure out why they like beers and why different flavors appeal to different people, and the depth of them and what's going on. And not that I like IPAs, but why do you like an IPA? Why do you like a stout? Why do you want to sit down and drink a heavy, dark stout when it's plus 30? There's people out there that do. I'm one of them. But
really? Oh no, man!
Everybody.
I was so relieved when we had this really brief thunderstorm, like roll here and drop the temperature like 15 degrees. It was like, okay, now it's stout weather. Otherwise, this Commodore is going to be a struggle.
Oh no, it's never a struggle. But so now we've got all these awesome, cool beers out there, and it's just endless a supply to taste. So you got to like almost, even though you kind of find a style that you like and you want to stick with it, so you go to different breweries and try, say, IPAs. So you try IPAs from different breweries and see how they do, like what you think of them, different flavor profiles. We got to jump out of that box once in a while, because every beer that these breweries all around Alberta, including us, is doing, every different style has that same heart and soul, and like everything that goes into these beers is thought out and it's methodical, and we take care of them, and every pint poured, no matter what it is, whether it's your style or not, there's a background to it. And everybody's proud of their beers, and they're worthwhile to jump out once in a while. If you're that IPA or lager drinker, jump out and try a stout once in a while, because you never know. Like, that might be the stout that you realize, okay, maybe I can drink these. So
I feel a little called out by that, because I jumped into the IPA box about 2004, and I still haven't really climbed out of it yet.
Well, get out of your box, man.
Hey, you know what? I try everything. I love sours. I'm in such a massive sours place right now, and there's just such an incredible depth of great sours coming out right now. But I won't lie, like, the TACO IPA is what I'm looking forward to, and that's just the way it is. And that ain't ever going to change for me to a certain point.
Well, then it's a good thing we're doing that one.
Damn right it is.
But so the Blindman River Session, this was the first beer that I had out of my mainstream life that I thought was awesome, crushing them. But this changed it. This, I started drinking, and I ended up going to the brewery and checking it out and got really interested, and then that's what kind of kicked me off into my home brewing with Bill. We did that together at the same time. It was just a hobby, and this is kind of what kicked it off. So like when we built our brewery, the Blindman guys let us in to their brewery to check stuff out, to look at the steam lines, to look at the wiring, to look at the water. Like, they were so receptive to the fact that we wanted to get out and do something different, and, well, similar to what they're doing, but start new styles and be part of this really cool industry that's so welcoming. It's unreal. Like, it's not like any industry I've ever been part of. So.
And there's, of course, there are occasional outliers. I won't name names, but there have been some outliers who got into trademark disputes or just didn't want to play nicely in the same pool with everyone else. And they are happily very, very extreme outliers, because you're right. For the most part, like, you walk up to somebody or you interview them on this and you say, hey, what was your inspiration on this beer? And you know, we actually had, when we had Shane on from Blindman, someone was actually brewing an IPA at home. He asked, like, hey, man, what's my hop additions like right now? And he's like, oh, you should just do this, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're listed as the sales manager on Snake Lake's website, but you're actually a brewmaster yourself, yeah?
No, I am not the brewmaster.
You're a brewer, though.
No, on the TACO IPA can, if everybody turns and looks at that is our head brewer. That's Octavio Pauly, and his nickname around here is Taco, so that's where the name comes from. But no, I'm not the brewmaster. I help build the brewery. I'm one of the managing partners, but I do all the outside sales. Just kind of being out talking.
You never put on your rubber boots and get tasked with shoveling out a mash tun?
I have done that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I thought
We're
you
also
might.
very involved. Like I've obviously dumped grain in the mill, shoveled out the mash tun. The first 3 times we did it with our new system, we kept having to adjust the rakes because they weren't quite down to where they should be to finish cleaning it out. So we were in and out of the mash tun. I was re-drilling bolts, and we were a big part of it. Like, being trades backgrounds too, we actually built pretty much everything that didn't need to be to a specific code. We did it all ourselves, and
That's amazing.
It's really cool.
Got a quick question here from Craig. Hello, Corey. Yes, thank you for the free shirt. I gave Corey a tough time about the fact he had all these really nice wine shirts, and I lost all this weight and none of my shirts fit anymore. So he gave me a free shirt today from Red Rooster Wines, which was very nice of him. Craig asks, Cascade hops on this? Now, again, this isn't a Snake Lake beer, but do you know, Adam? I would suspect Cascade or Centennial anyway.
I can't tell you off the top of my head, and I don't want to answer that incorrectly, being as it's not our beer.
Fair enough. But I'll take a wild stab in the dark, and I'll say this does taste like a 3C hop, at least in some component of it.
like I say, I'll get those guys will be bugging me right away if I mess that up on them.
Yeah, but they won't do it to me, so I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark and say yes, with
Perfect.
absolutely nothing to back that up.
Perfect. But right back to the, like, even doing a different beer from another brewery, I just want to say thanks to all those guys at Blindman that did kind of step out and let us check stuff out and help us along the way. And like, I can shoot a text message off to Hans and Shane and those guys at any point, and they always get back to me. It's nice to have like a phone a friend, I guess. It's good to have them down the road.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I like that this is lower alcohol too at 4.4. That's kind of our theme for next week is the lower alcohol stuff. And as much as I do still love a good old-fashioned 7.5% IPA, I do appreciate lower alcohol these days. It just doesn't agree with me like it used to in my 20s.
Well, sessionable beers, I think, are coming back around too. Like the more people I talk to, the more they appreciate a beer that is you can sit down and have more than one of them. Basically, like you sit down with a really heavy IPA, you're kind of hooped if you got to drive home. But to have a sessionable beer where you can sit on a patio, have a couple of them, they're light, they're easy. I really like the sessionable beers, and ours, we have one as well in our lineup, and it's kind of a go-to. It's more of like a patio beer.
Perfect. I had a technical question coming up from Scotty. He asked, what is SRM?
The SRM, that's the color. The color of the beer, they're rated on a scale. So you can always go from like your lights to darks, like a stout's really a lot, like a high SRM, and then as you get to the lighter beers like the lagers, down to the lagers and some saisons and stuff, the number gets smaller. So when you can look at that on the can, you can always tell kind of what you're getting into. Like it's a little bit of a color, so when you pour it, you know what you're going to be pouring into a glass. Yeah,
the Commodore Stout's up in a SRM of 40, whereas the Brighter Horizons is down in an SRM of 3, and that's kind of the whole range. It has to be pretty darn dark to get into those high numbers.
Yeah, you betcha. So stouts and porters, they generally fall into that category.
All right, so you loved the Blindman Session Ale so much that you had to release your own kind of lighter alcohol, super kind of hop-forward, tropical style pale, just to cut into the market share like a true friend would. Why don't we move on to the Brighter Horizons here and talk about that?
So this beer we actually released during the last couple months. The name, the story on it obviously reflects everything that's happened this spring and into summer. Just giving something a little bit to look forward to, I guess, and a light at the end of the tunnel. So this beer, this is a really cool style that Octavio put together for us. It's a New England style pale ale. It's 5.4%, so it's a little bit higher than a sessionable, considered a session beer. It's still about 5%. The cool thing with this one is we conditioned it on guava, like pink guava, pineapple, and peaches. So those are actual real fruit purees that we put in and condition it on. So all the fruit notes you taste from this beer come from real fruit, which is not cheap, we found out, obviously.
No, fruit is super not cheap.
And it's hard to get. So we've been working at making sure we always got a supply of it. We've got a decent, you want to have your inventory backed up doing a beer like this. So, because we're going to keep making this one throughout the summer. This will be a beer that continues on throughout the year till fall, and we'll see how it's received. Obviously, in the fall, we might do a little bit of a twist and do a darker style of it or something. But
I mean, one of the themes of this summer has been, hey, this is our one-time seasonal. Okay, this is our summer seasonal. Okay, fine. If you like it that much, it's now full-time. We've seen that happen like 4 times just in the last 2 months, seemingly.
Well, and that's like with our seasonals too. We do them one and done basically, and they'll come back next year. This is the first one we've done consecutively and plan to do over and over and over. So it's a really cool beer. We've had great feedback from it. The places that it is on draft, we've been hearing nothing but good things, and I'm really proud of the way it turned out. It's light, it's got fruit, but it's not a smoothie. You know those fruit beers that you drink that are like overpowering smoothie kind of style? This is a little different.
the happily short-lived milkshake style, which I'm kind of glad has gone away.
Personally, too, I'm not a huge fan of lactose in beers. That's my personal opinion. Nothing against them at all. There's a place for them. People love them. But I've never gravitated towards that either. So to have something that's light in body like this, it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't have that slippery, almost like, that cream feel in them. I like this.
It's almost a slickness that I don't really dig on.
So this beer is, as everybody's tasting, it's crisp, it's fruity, it's light, it's a sunshine beer. It's Brighter Horizons. But the New England styles, like the New England Northeast style beers, which is what we really put out a lot of. Our seasonals, our best-selling beers, our Sidewinder IPA, which is a pour beer. It's always available. That's kind of our, like Octavio, that's what he really fine-tunes. He loves that style. He's good at it. He understands the chemistry of the hops and how what you can put together to make flavors and how those different hop combinations, like hops are endless, right? Like there's so many different kind of hops available. It's to know what to do with them and what mixes with what and what substitutes with what. There's a whole world out there of just how you can work with hops. And that's one, I mean, there's only 4 ingredients in most beers unless you're adding fruit and stuff, but the amount of diversity that you can pull out of hops is a whole nother science altogether. So what he does with our New England styles and how he plays with them and the New England pale ales, and he does this fruit beer, and our Sidewinder and even our session ale is a very hazy, like similar to this, hazy, nice New England, like it's got those aromas and the way that's actually going back to my first conversation about mainstream beer, back to craft beer. That was one of the first things I noticed was the aromas. Like when you put a glass to your nose,
it actually smells like something.
You've got real ingredients there, and like they punch you. Like you can pick out those notes of citrus and some floral notes on different beers, and how that tailors the flavor when you can actually take that in together rather than just sitting down and crushing a bunch of beers. Now you've got this experience that comes out of these glasses, and how those flavors and aromas mix together. It just creates something that obviously drives people to brew, for starters, because of the explosion of the industry, but it's giving you something unique, and it gives you something to play with that gives you your own signature on the market, and that's what I love about what Octavio does. He creates these beers that captivate and hold people, and they come in and they want to know, like, what's in that, how did that happen, like why is it hazy, because we can make perfectly clear beers. We do all the, like with our German style pills, that's absolutely spotless. But another difference we do with our beers is we start off everything with RO. We have a full water treatment plant in the brewery. So we reverse osmosis all of our batches before we start. So the water goes through, we do about 7,000 liters at a time. And then we start fresh. So we pull all the minerals out of it, everything out of the water. And water's your biggest ingredient. So if you're not tailoring it or changing those water profiles, a lot of your beers will have the same kind of underlying tastes. So what we do is we strip them and then we pull off water profiles from different places where we want to kind of build the beer from. So our German style pills, we tailor it after obviously a German style water profile. We put in the calcium chloride, calcium sulfide, the pH level, and bring that beer up, and we can actually create a water profile almost spot on to wherever the region is we're brewing the beer. So we can make water from anywhere around the world and create beers to taste as if they were from there. So that's another thing that we do with our New Englands. They've got different water profiles. And it's just something really cool to work with. Like water gets overlooked a lot, and water chemistry is like pretty important.
I completely agree with you. Yeah, even from a home brewer, you buy your little packet of Burton salts that sits in the back of your brewing kit and never gets used, but it makes such a huge difference, just such a massive difference.
Yeah, and it just gives you the ability to change those flavors and tailor stuff and add that a little bit extra control over what you're doing, and I mean I was on board for that right away from the start, just because we wanted to do that Pilsner and have it perfectly clear, perfectly clean, but not filter. Like we still don't filter any of our beers. Everything we do is either through obviously like a sparge filter through the grain bed, or when we whirlpool and then just letting everything pull out. But when we lager too, we do for 40 days, so it sits for a long time. Like our lager beers definitely are not.
Since you brought up your Pilsner, let's kind of talk about a little bit about your kind of different series. So your seasonals, I think, come mostly in the tall cans, and then you have your standard beers that come in the standard 6-packs. What are your core range? Because we sell the Sidewinder at the minute, but I don't have the others. Why don't you tell people about what else you guys are doing?
So the Kennebec Pilsner is it's our lager. That's our main gateway beer, let's call it. I don't like that term, but let's call it that, because when we started in Sylvan had never had a brewery. It was new to craft beer. We were trying something new, and so we needed a beer that brought in everybody. Same thing, get those mainstream just said it. The mainstream beer drinkers in the door, kind of to try something new, and then expand their horizon from there to the different beers. So the Kennebec Pilsner is one of our cores that we started with. Sidewinder IPA absolutely took off. We sell more of that than anything. That's kind of our flagship beer. we're really proud of that one and happy with where it went. Last year we won a gold medal at the Alberta Beer Awards for it. This year we won a gold medal for the German Pilsner, the Kinnevik Pilsner. So it's really nice to see Octavio getting recognized for what he's doing, because we are so proud of that guy and what he's putting out, and it's really nice to see that the province is noticing that too. We also have a West Coast style red ale called the Varsity Hall Red, and that is generally, like, you notice most reds, they're kind of malty, they're heavy, they end with that little bit of sweet note, kind of a heavy, very malt finish. So we twisted it and changed it to West Coast style, so it ends light, and then you've got a little bit of hops at the end. So if you see the Varsity Red, that's what you're getting into with that one. And then the Commodore Stout is one of our cores, and that one we're going to sample in a little bit.
Now, I wasn't going to bring this up because, it's a bit of inside baseball, but Darren went ahead and commented on this, that the Brighter Horizons is a draft exclusive right now at Original Joe's, and this wasn't really a beer that was originally ever supposed to see cans, was it? This is kind of a bit of a happy accident with COVID that we ended up with it in cans at all.
Yeah, so this was a beer that was brewed as a collaboration with Original Joe's, and we did that for them in March, right the week before everything kind of shut down. So we had this batch of beer, amazing fruited beer with lots of ingredients in it that we didn't know what to do with. So we kind of talked with him back and forth, and he said, well, package it, like get it out to retail and see how it does. And it took off. It went like crazy, which it was so well received, and we were
we were out of it in like a couple of weeks. Like, it was madness. And we took quite a bit. I think we took 10, 12 flats when it first came out. It was just gone. It was just amazing.
And that's kind of the similar story we got from everyone. So then when everything did open back up, we obviously rebrewed it, and we're ready, and we had it kegged. So now we're going to continue on, be obviously keg heavy with it for those locations. So if you do want to pick this up or have it on draft with your meal, you can get it at OJ's, both of them in Lethbridge actually. And then with the canned stuff, like, we'll still produce it, but it'll be in very limited supply every run. But we'll keep doing it because people are almost demanding it now.
Because the springs on the back of your car weren't stressed enough last time when you brought down beer to us. Good Lord, you couldn't have fit any more beer in that poor car.
Hey, man.
And we're almost through all of it. Like, I think I have 2 flats of Taco left and like 3 of Brighter Horizons and like a flat and a half of Commodore, and that's it. Like, it's basically already all gone. But yeah,
so Amanda was right. Set you up with extra flats.
Yep.
she's always right. It's a
seemingly, yes. But it's funny that whole COVID thing. I've told the story briefly before, but when COVID first hit, that was when that was the weekend Cabin released Summer Saturation, and they, like, everybody was like, oh God, like, is this even going to sell? And they basically threw it up on Facebook. Hey friends, we have no idea what's going to happen, but please come buy this beer before we might be forced to close the doors, and then it'll just go bad. So I was driving up, and I actually pulled over right around Nanton-ish, and I stopped on the side of the highway. I was like, do I just turn around and cancel the order? We could be closed tomorrow. But I said, no, we'll just keep going. Cabin are our friends. We'll take care of them. We placed the order. We paid for the order. We're just going to honor it. And I went up, and, like, that beer lasted 72 hours. And then just everybody decided, yes, COVID, let's get drunk. Yeah. And, like, sales just took off like crazy. And now I'm going to Calgary on the weekly. But, yeah, I definitely had that, like, moment of, oh God, what am I doing? What if it doesn't sell? What if we're not allowed to sell? What if, and yeah, it was just one of those things. And we've all very much made lemonade out of lemons, usually through a lot of hard work. I'm sure firing up the canning line at the last possible second to get this in cans was not fun.
Well, yeah, and for us, like, generally we can all our core products in small cans, so adjusting the canning line, like, we have to switch it every time, change all, like, the racks and the heights of everything, and make sure everything's set up to still produce those beers, and make sure that, like, there's no DO in them, make sure everything's clean, clear, we're getting the right packaging on everything. So to change our canning line back and forth was kind of a process to learn that, but we've got her down pretty good now.
Nice. Let's jump along to the TACO IPA, and it does beg the question. You're one of the last holdouts to still be doing 6 standard cans. Are you guys going to go all tall cans all the time like the rest of the crowd, or are you sticking along with, like, Fernie and doing 6 cans?
So we're going to kind of mix it up, because I talked to kind of a bunch of customers throughout the industry about how the cans were viewed. We're going to leave our core cans in short cans. That's what we're kind of known as. That's what we like. They move well. We're happy with them. And then our seasonals, we're going to start kicking them all out in tall cans and just see how that goes. It's new for us. We used to do everything in short cans. but it is kind of nice to have a tall can on the shelf for a lot of the craft beer places that are looking for something like that, where they want to sell a single or have a 4-pack, or just, I don't know. It gives us kind of appeals to both the consumers. If they want a 6-pack, we do it. If you want a tall can, we've got that covered too.
Cool. I think you mentioned before we went on camera that you actually had some people in your tap room. Is your tap room open for business now?
Yes.
Limited capacity?
So if you hear background noise, that's what it is there. I'm just in the back of the brewery here. But yeah, no, we've got our obviously limited capacity. Everybody's spaced apart. But yes, the tap room's open, and it's really nice to have people back in here smiling and trying the beers and hanging out and getting to see our regulars again. It's nice to have things kind of back to normal.
I feel you. The reason I was saying is one of our viewers, Justin, said he was looking forward to going up to Snake Lake just towards the end of March before COVID came out. So I wanted to confirm for him that you guys were back up and running. If he wants to make the trek up, he can.
Absolutely. Come now. Come say hi. It's starting to get, like, today is obviously a bad day. It's kind of rainy, but it's been so nice up here. And the water's
come on, it's always rainy. You're in Tornado Alley.
I don't know about that. But so the TACO IPA, is everyone onto that one now?
I think everybody's onto the TACO IPA.
Okay, so this is Octavio. He's our guy. He's the guy that creates all this stuff. We've got a assistant brewer named Jesse, and he is also amazing, great caliber brewer. Those guys create magic. So this beer came out. There's no ground beef in it. It's a TACO IPA named after taco. So when we were building the brewery, Bill, my business partner's our daughter, was 1 year old, and she couldn't quite pronounce Octavio, so she called him Taco. And we immediately latched onto that, and he's been Taco ever since. So we created the TACO IPA, and the way he brews this is he does it New England style IPA. He does it with sea salt, lime zest. We zest a whole bunch of limes here, and then there's a bag of tortilla chips in every batch. So that just gives you that little bit of a taco flair. And this beer has always been, since the first time we made it, it has been almost like the beer people wait for. As soon as I do pre-sales on it, it's evaporated. Like, we did 2 tanks of it this year, and they were both sold before it was in cans.
Oh yeah, like I'm so stoked for this. It's sold really well. I've had 2 people like, they don't put tacos in it. It's like, well, it's a little more complicated than that. But like, I've had so many people like, we haven't had it that long. We've had it a week, not even. It'll be a week tomorrow. And A, we're almost out. And B, like, we've already had repeat sales on it. And that's just fantastic.
Well, and it's so cool too, because I mean, he's on the can. He's got his buddies back in Vancouver and stuff that look at him and they just laugh, right? Like, he's everywhere. He's all over Alberta right now. So I get a little bit of a kick out of that too. I mean, taco's sitting on my counter right now at home. It's kind of weird. But this beer with the sea salt in there, like, when you drink it, you get that little bit of a hit on your tongue. It's almost like an ocean wash or an ocean spray has gotten in your beer. Like, I love the difference from what you're expecting when you look at the color. And it's citrusy and it's bold and it's salty. It's different. It's weird. I like it.
You know, it's something we've been talking about a lot with the Friday night wine tastings, is salinity in wine and the role that it plays, and how it can take, you know, maybe a not desperately aromatic grape like a Trebbiano, and it can actually lift it to the point of having this incredible richness and body. And like, if I didn't tell you there was a salty component, you probably wouldn't pick it up. But once I say salinity, your mouth all of a sudden says, oh, yeah, there's salt, and I really like this salt. Never thought I'd like salt in wine. You know, it's one of the things I never really thought I'd like salt in beer particularly, but salt's so fascinating as like a culinary ingredient. It does so many different things. Having a little bit of salinity to the beer, it plays off the fruity notes. It plays off the sweetness of the grain. Like, it's a fascinating addition, and I really like it.
Well, and that's kind of what I was saying like earlier about I like this beer, but why? Why do I like it? What's in it that I like? So you got to almost take apart why you like it and learn about what's in it and know that's the style. That's what my palate enjoys. Like, it's stuff you don't notice or pick up on if you're just casually having a conversation and drinking a beer. You don't pick it apart. But if you actually sit there and think about it, like, why do I like this? And why is whoa.
Well, oh no. Well, that was Adam. No. He's dead now.
Can you see me?
We can see you just fine.
Okay, my phone's had too many. But just to know, like, what you're getting into and why that style appeals to you. It's because you never know, that might branch out to another style that you never even thought of that you actually really enjoy.
So is this something I'll be able to get some more of before the end of summer, or are we well into fall before you're going to have another batch of this going?
Well, I can't really say, but
Okay.
I'm hoping to see it again before the end of the year. I would really like to see it come out again. If we can swing it, if we have tank space and we can make that happen. It's just we've always made a commitment to everybody that we sell to, for retail and on premise for that matter, that whatever we sell we'll keep in stock. So if you've got it on tap, we'll do our absolute best to make sure that if you go to pull one, it's there. So we always have to make sure those commitments are filled first, and then we do our seasonals afterwards. So if we got a tank that's free and we know we're not going to need it, that's when we'll fit in those extra seasonals. And we've always been able to do that. We've got a pretty decent size like cellaring area with our fermenters here, so we're usually able to always fit in a seasonal a month. And this is one that I would really like to do again.
Yeah, but this is my favorite Snake Lake beer to date by quite a bit. I really like this.
That's awesome.
And I already have so Jeff already wants taco and tap. Corey from Two Guys, he wants the cans, and you can have some, Corey, but probably not nearly as many as you'd like, because like I said, I'm down to about 2 flats left. Yeah, I mean, this is a massive hit. And I love the fact that, compared to where we were when we started with like the Blindman River session in 2014 here, and now we're at the point where we're doing like a taco IPA, and it's super wild and crazy, and everybody's into it. I love how much the market's changed, and it's so much fun. I've now managed to get my domestic beer down to 2 shelves in the entire store. Other than that, it's all craft, and I love it. And they're narrow-ass shelves. They're probably only 2 feet wide. Yeah, so I got about 4 feet of fridge space for domestic, and everything else is something, good. So yeah, no, it's a wonderful time to be doing this for a living.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. I love hearing that. So no, I mean, more and more people are gravitating towards different beers and different flavors and stuff like that, and it's really cool to see. I like walking into people's houses now and seeing craft beer in their fridge. It's refreshing.
Isn't it? It's quite something. And like, I can go to my dad's house, and he actually had a Blindman Florida Weiss in the fridge for reasons that are an absolute mystery to me. But, normally it'd be like, well, we have kokanee or kokanee. Now he had interesting stuff, which was quite something. We are just entering the shameless plug portion of the evening. So we are just going to talk about what we have coming up for our next 2 tastings here, Adam, if you'll bear with me here.
You got her, man.
So for wine, we have an Australian wine night, and actually our most red-dominated night in ages. So I'm hoping we get a really nice cooling rainstorm on Friday. But we have 2 special guests coming up this Friday. First off, we have Darren Owers of Nugan Estate Wines live in from Australia. He's the man who made these wines, and he's going to be here to talk about them. And then we touched on this for the wine tasting at least last week. Really what helped build Andrew Hilton was the Australian wine industry and my dad's fascination with it all through the late 80s through the very early 2000s. So we will be doing guest speakers. So we'll have my dad to help talk about the history of the store and the history of the Australian wine industry as it relates to Lethbridge. And we'll have the man who made the wines from Nugan Estates joining us to just have a big old Australian wine party. And it is going to be a lot of fun. I will definitely be taking a cab home after that one. Wines coming up are the Annalise Pinot Grigio, the dried grape Shiraz, and the second pass Shiraz. So these are very, very related wines and how they're made. And then finally, a Manuka Grove Durif. Durif is also known as Petite Syrah if you are making it in California, but the proper name is Durif. So that's this Friday at 6. And then we'll go for something a little bit lighter. This is our beer tasting coming up 1 week from today. For those, Craig particular, and I believe Chad as well, who have been all about the bitters and milds and the bitters and milds, we are doing a bitters, milds, and sessions night. So from OT Brewing, we're going to have the American Mild and the 180 English Pub Ale, both comfortably under 5% alcohol. From Endeavour Brewing, we have the Express ESB. And then finally from Blindman, we have their brand new Super Session, which is the second time they've brewed this, I believe. So 4 really, really neat beers. Absolute maximum alcohol on it is 5.4 on the bitter. Everything else comfortably under 5. So just something a little bit different here. And I think the first time we've had OT on here, which is a shame because OT makes excellent beer. So that is the shameless plug portion of the evening. Thank you all for bearing with me. I hope you join us for one and or both. And let's get us into the Commodore Stout. Now, this is a beer you have a really personal relationship with. Adam, why don't you tell me about it?
Having some beers, we were going to have the Pilsner, IPA, Red Ale. I'm a stout drinker. I was like, guys, I can't be part of a brewery that doesn't have a stout. That's crazy. Like, you got to have a beer for you, right? You want to sit down at a tap room and have a beer. So this, Octavio created. For me, I like to think. But this was the first beer we actually won an award for. We won a silver medal for it when we were down in Calgary at one of the beer shows. I think they were the Canadian International Beer Awards for that one. But it was the first one we actually got recognition for. So it's kind of an I told you so moment. But this is my jam. I like these beers. I love dark, bold, flavorful, and it's an American style stout. So it's lighter, it's easy. It's not like you ate a sandwich. You know those beers that you drink and you feel full after them. That's not what this
Founders
does.
KBS, Judicio Peche Mortel, 9.5% alcohol, probably aged in a bourbon barrel with cocoa nibs and chili peppers and the vanilla bean in the kitchen sink thrown in it. And let me not be dismissive. I love those styles of beer. Like, I really do. I've been to 50/50 and I did the Eclipse tasting board. I did 11 types of Eclipse aged in 11 different woods, and I barely walked out being able to see, but they're 11% and change. But it was a great afternoon. Don't know what I did that evening, but it was a great afternoon.
So that Peche Mortal, that's one of my go-tos. If I see that anywhere, I gotta buy it.
Did you see they actually let us have bottles of the bourbon Peche this year? They released it out to a handful of stores this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, I like dark beer. I will, like I wasn't kidding about before, I will sit in the sun and drink a stout. I got no problem with that. But this beer it's got those hints of espresso and dark chocolate that come through from the barley. Like, there's no actual coffee or chocolate in it, but you get these amazing flavors that come off of this thing, and it's still a stout. And I've had so many people that have tried it that say, well, like, that's actually not bad. I don't drink dark beer, but it's okay. And it's a beer that I had, like, the kegerator in my house. This was on tap forever for I do everything with this. I put it on my barbecue. I drink it. Obviously, you cook with it. Like, it's a beer you can do anything with, and
you left out the best one. Chocolate beer floats. Come on. I absolutely love a chocolate beer float, especially after like a big meal at a brewery. Like the best one I think is Pelican. They do this like bourbon reduction. So they'll pour like the pint of the stout, and then they'll put the giant thing of Tillamook like chocolate ice cream in it, and then they'll put this bourbon reduction syrup over top of the ice cream, and it's perfect.
Yes. That sounds like a perfect way to end a meal. But these are my go-to. I love dark beers. This is where I've gone with craft beer. I appreciate all of them. I appreciate a crisp lager, a clean, bright beer. I appreciate the New England style IPA. Even a saison. A saison is not my go-to. I've never been a fan of saisons, but to sit down and drink one and taste it and know what those flavors are coming from, like, you appreciate it. But another one that I've really kind of grown to is Brett beers. I really like Brettanomyces, and the way that plays with the complexity and the depth of a beer and gives you more of that like connoisseur, almost like a dinner, a sharing beer, something that's not a beer you're just sitting down to crush on a patio. Like, hey, you get that.
But you can.
I
love me a Brett beer that I just crush on a patio.
I have, for sure. But it's there's so many things that change with beers that, like, you can't pigeonhole yourself into one style. Like, there's stuff to try, and to try different stuff from different breweries. It's just an endless game of beer. Like, how sweet is it to live in Canada?
I have a really insightful question from Justin. Is Commodore the base for the Ice Cutter Vanilla Latte Stout?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, so we use that, and then we also, it's a little bit different recipe, but it's very similar. And then we start from there, and then we go with, we add 100 liters of cold brew coffee from Maker House, which is in Red Deer, and we blend that in it and then age it or condition it with vanilla. So that's where all those flavors are coming from. But yes, it is. That's where it started from, was a split batch that we played with, and it came out with that, which was pretty damn good too.
Nice. Are we going to see the Ice Cutter in tall cans then this year, because it's the seasonal program?
I'm not sure where that one's going to go yet. We've had some interesting conversation back and forth whether that potentially could end up as a more common beer in our brewery or if it's going to be released as a seasonal. But if it comes out as a seasonal, we're pushing for all of our seasonals to be in tall cans now. That's kind of the direction we want to head, but it'll all depend on logistics and what's available and how economical it is. Basically, we run everything down to the numbers and see how things move and how much time spent in certain areas, and breweries are fun. There's so much going on in them, but they're still a business. You still gotta know what each part is doing and how much time it's taking, and basically you gotta know your numbers. And it's so fun being around beer and drinking it, obviously, and doing it, but there is still a very serious background to a brewery that I think sometimes gets overlooked.
Oh, preaching to the choir, man. Like,
yeah,
very much so. Trust me.
So we'll see. We're gonna try it out and see how it goes. And I'm hoping for it. I really like the fact that our stuff's in tall cans. It's really cool to walk into a store and see it that way now.
Yeah.
But I really have a soft spot for the short cans. That might be my mainstream beer drinking from before, but
you know what? There's nothing wrong with 6 cans. I sell an absolutely terrifying amount of Fernie, and I love Fernie, and they're just diehards for their small cans, and I love them for it, and they sell just fine.
Yeah. So.
And there's also something to be said for a point of difference. If everybody else is doing tall cans, being known as, hey, we're the small can guys because we like small cans, and you get 6 of them, it's not such a bad thing.
Well, they're easier to share that way if you want to share your beer.
Sorry, people share their beer? No, that's my beer.
As I said it, as it was coming out of my mouth, I was thinking that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
No, that's awesome.
No, I have a liquor store. If you want one of my beers, you pay for it.
And a lot of really good scotch.
So I got a question for you next up. We've had like 3 or 4 or 5 people talking about Ice Cutter, asking about Ice Cutter. When does that usually come out, and when might we see cans down here?
So we usually release that right around January, mid-January. That's kind of our winter beer.
Okay. Winter
seasonal, I guess. That might change. We might do it again in the fall. So you might see it again this year, and I'm hoping for that as well. So we'll see what happens as the cooler weather rolls in and as fall kind of approaches. I want to see that one back on the shelf. I mean, I'm one guy in the brewery, but it would be the way the province received that beer and the way people that did not even like beer would drink that because it tasted like coffee. Like, we had that out at shows, like at different expos and stuff. Actually, don't know if we had it at Lethbridge Expo. Well, we've had it out at several different big shows.
I don't think you did because I was at the booth for a while.
Oh, okay. But there's people that would come up and they would, just the name, they didn't even care that it was a stout. They didn't drink dark beer. There was not something they'd even consider, but just the name draws them in. And they try it, and it's this whole new world of coffee and vanilla, and they just keep coming back. Like, we drained that keg. That was the first thing we were out of at, I'm pretty sure, every show we took it to. I think so. But it's something that was well received as well. And I mean, this is just it's Octavio, what he does, how he masters the balance of flavor and doesn't overdo anything, and everything has a purpose. He doesn't just throw things in and he doesn't mix and mash. He always has a set direction with what he's doing, and that's where all these creations come from, and that's where all these flavors and like, I thank goodness I'm not brewing for us, because there's no way on earth I could do that or any of it. Like, he's done such a good job for us, and it's, like I said before, it's really good to see him recognized throughout the province. And Ice Cutter got a silver medal this year at the Alberta Beer Awards. Also very cool. And that one, I'm sure we'll be back before we kind of plan for January.
All right. Now, I always ask because, I'm a cheeky bugger and I'm going to ask, except when I've been specifically told not to ask. But what do you have coming out in the next little bit, either as a seasonal or as a new member of your core beers? What should we be looking for in the coming little bit from Snake Lake? What's coming out that you can talk about?
I'm going to tell you about 2 beers that I have not told anyone about. These are going to be coming out in July. They're going to be, obviously, a lot of pre-sales done on them, but
I'll take 10.
Done. You got her, man.
You can hold me to that. I know it's a meme, but I genuinely could probably sell 10 of each.
No, it's no problem. So the first one I'll talk about is it's a kettle sour we did for summer. It's a blueberry raspberry kettle sour called the Fieldberry Crush.
Ooh.
And that one is spectacular. It's light, it's easy, it's very similar to the Buster Creek that we did last year, which was a blueberry kettle sour. So this is a very similar beer, but with a spin on it. We added raspberries to it just to give it a little bit of extra flavor, and it's going to be really cool. So that one will be coming out in July, and then also crazy awesome. I'm so excited for this one in bottles. We're doing it 750 ml bottles, like our other Brett beers that we do.
I was going to talk to you about those in a minute. Yeah, we'll talk about the series in a minute, but yeah, go ahead.
So this beer that we're going to be launching, it's called the Blackberry Boogie. So what it is it's a blended Brett Saison. We started with 20% of it was aged for 14 months in Merlot and Cab Sav oak barrels. The other 80% comes from honey Saison we did for our anniversary beer with 20% honey fermentables in it. So those two got blended, and then it was conditioned on blackberries. So this beer has been a long time in the making. We finally bottled it. It's being bottle conditioned right now, so it's got to sit for a month, and that will release in the middle of July. And it's exceptional. Like, we've been trying it as it's been conditioning just to see how it's coming along in the process. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and it's in those 750 ml wine bottles. It's going to be wax dipped. We've got nice, obviously, the labels like we do with all of our other bottled beer, and it's just a different avenue. It's a different offshoot from what we do with our other stuff, like our main beers that you get all the time, the seasonals. These are different. It's a whole nother side of Snake Lake that you get to see, and it's again another tip my hat to Octavio, something else that he can do and add to the market and just change the regularity of what you see on the shelf. It's something different. It's something deep. There's thought and time, and it's a creation that they're crazy. They're good. You're gonna like them.
Yeah, I think that's something that I kind of forgot about until I had you on camera. Is, we talked about the small cans with the tall cans. You guys have a whole other series of limited edition beers in your big 750 ml bombers. You've got your Farmhouse Pale, the Party Queen, the upcoming Blackberry Boogie. Are these all like Brettanomyces beers? Are these all barrel aged beers? Are they all both? Nope, we lost Adam there for a second. We will have to reconnect there for a minute. So yeah, that's kind of the end of the formal tasting. We will get Adam back here in a second. But please, while he's off camera for a minute, just hit me for questions, because we are going to want questions for Adam here. I will introduce those beers a little bit. Yeah, we started getting those about, I think either the first or second month of this year. And yeah, they have these really interesting, completely one-off, once they're gone, 750 mils of Brettanomyces and barrel-aged beers that are really interesting. And we actually got those before we started even getting the tall cans from them. So that's a really neat project for these guys. Sorry, you folks aren't seeing what I'm seeing with the technical difficulties. I don't want to get into rankings just yet, but I did want to talk about just how much I enjoy this. As you all know, I'm an IPA drinker from way the heck back, and I really love the classic West Coast style, and I've gotten really, really, really into the East Coast styles as well, but I still like that West Coast style, and this just hits me just right. Now, I say that about a lot of beers because it happens to be true, but this one hits me just right with this nice, it's got the pretty juiciness and everything, but it also has this nice crisp, tart, upfront bitterness that really shows very, very well. I like just the upfront lime. I like how powerful this is. Oh, and Aaron's breaking out the whiteboard, which tells me that Adam's not going to be back for a minute. But yeah, I quite like that, and I thought that was really, really interesting. So yeah, we will definitely let everybody know when the ice cutter does come out, and I will definitely be taking, I think 10 might be low of the sour. I think we might have to take 15 or 20 of that if it's only going to be a one-time thing. You never want to be rude and take more than they'll let you have, but I'd be remiss if I didn't take everything I thought I could get away with. For the Blackberry Boogie, we'll probably take a few cases, but at 750 mils a bottle at a time, they tend to sell a little slower, so we'll take a little less than that. For those of you, I'm specifically speaking to Jeff and Corey here, if you'd like some of those cans, please let me know in ahead, because I might have to boost that from 20 to 30 if you guys want quite a bit. Let's see what we have for questions here real fast. Ooh, Chad, you're going to be making a West Coast in Canada. Well, I hope you're also going to hang out with us for bitters and milds, but yeah, I believe you did message me about that, and I believe I was promised a growler of that one, so I'm very excited for that. Oh, apparently his phone died. Okay, well, that does happen to the best of us. So. Just ripping through comments and questions. Thank you in advance for everybody who is giving us questions so that we can get through this awkward time while Adam's phone charges. Does it make sense for a microbrewery like Snake Lake to offer all these different bottling can sizes? The canning is just literally you make. I'm really oversimplifying what's actually probably a couple-hour process. You can do 2 different can sizes on the same canning line. The bottler, I would guess they probably have a hand bottler. They're running the beer extremely cold to cut down on foam and hand bottling, and that's literally just kind of 4 to 6 different like beer lines, and you kind of fill them almost like growlers, just at extremely cold temperatures to cut down foam. And yes, you can hear that, and oh. We might have Adam back. Hey, are you back there, sir? Hey, he's back.
Yeah, it's poor planning on my part.
No, that's all right. I'd be lying if I said it never happened to me on the regular. So.
Perfect.
So we had some really insightful questions while you were gone. One, I'm going to need at least 15 thoughts of that sour, probably more like, basically just whatever you'll let me have, just do the 88 model. Tell me what I'm allowed to have and I'll just take the maximum.
Done. I'll make it happen. I'll send you a message later.
Perfect. The other one, this is a really insightful one from Grant. He was asking about the logistics of you doing multiple can sizes and glass bottles and the time and equipment commitment that you guys have to put into having that. How does that make sense for you as a packaging perspective, and why do you choose to go to all the extra time, trouble, and expense to make that happen?
So really, that's a great question, because we're asking ourselves that same thing. So with our age stuff, like anything we do that's been barrel aged on Brettanomyces, anything like that we put that time into, that to change, basically to make those deep beers, the complex, the beers that have depth to them, we want to have them shelled differently. So those ones make sense for us to put them in bottles. We have a separate little bottling line that does 6. It's a 6 head. It does them fairly efficiently. It's a little bit different setup, but I mean, our canner is mobile, so we can either move it out of the way if we need to. It's not a big deal between the cans and the bottles to do that. Sorry, I'm moving a little bit here. It's really not, that one's not too much of like, and for what you get out of it, for the way the image of the bottle, the way it sits on the shelf, it just commands that respect that actually went into it, the time that went into it. It just adds the authenticity to what that beer is.
It's just a little bit of wine envy.
Yeah. but as far as the tall cans to the short cans, that's kind of something we're throwing back and forth in the brewery ourselves as it is right now. Like we've done short cans since we started. That's what we did. We did our seasonal short cans, we did our cores and short cans. We were short cans. That's what we did. But the market, the way we've been asked, and we've had lots of people come to us and say like, hey, why aren't you doing tall cans? Like, we want to sell your tall cans. We want this in tall cans. The consumers want to buy tall cans. It's kind of a mixed bag on what the actual end consumer wants. So we figured we leave our cores with where they're at, because that's what we established with. That's the way we started, and it's working. We like that. People are buying them. It's not hurting us because they're not in tall cans. But to play with our seasonals and to do that, that's something that we want to look into. But it is a giant pain is what it is, because we have to, every time we have to change the canner over. We've got to order the cans. We've got to get the different size labels. Any beer that we've done in the past that has been in a short can, we now have to get the artwork stretched and made just so it looks good still for a tall can. But I feel like it's important right now as almost like a science experiment, if for lack of better terms, because I want to see how it's received. I want to see how those seasonals do, if they still sell really well, if it changes anything, maybe they sell better, maybe they sell worse. It's research and development in an industry that we get a chance to play in. We get to see now. We get to try and see what people are buying. So that little bit of extra effort, I think, is worth it. But it is a lot of work, and the logistics of it are not, like, it's not smooth by any means.
Well, I'll add my own little data point here. I think for us, at least here in the store, and by no means is this, an absolute clear divided, black and white line. the people who buy 4-packs tend to be the people coming in saying, hey, what's new since the last thing I was in? Which could have only been 2 days before, and they want like 5 new things. That tends to be our 4-pack customers, so I think that's a really great fit for seasonals. The people on our side that we see buying 6-packs and larger for the most part, they tend to be a little more brand loyal, and they tend to come in for the same thing week after week after week, whether that's Fernie What the Huck or Sidewinder IPA or Coors Banquet. Like it doesn't matter. If they want it in a larger format in terms of small cans, they tend to buy the same thing over and over and over. And I don't think that not having tall cans in any way has hurt my Fernie sales or my Old Man River sales or any of that. I think that the only SKU that doesn't sell for us is 4-packs of small cans. Small cans shall be 6-packs and tall cans shall be 4, and nary the two shall ever cross. So.
Yeah,
so where are you now? Are you outside?
No, I'm in the back.
It's just the light was kind of, yeah. Do you want to give us a little bit of a tour of the operation if you have the battery power for that?
Let me check. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, we just lost the video, so maybe don't do that.
Is it back on?
No, it's not.
What?
No. Well, that was a failed experiment. Well done, me.
Oh, man.
I think I don't know what to suggest on this one. I'm not good at Skype particularly, but we can still hear you, so we'll go with that.
Okay. Well, maybe it'll come back on.
Maybe it'll come back on. We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Here's a question from Dave and Krista Bateman. Does a brewery make more money per mill on a tall can or short can, or are they about the same? And compare that against kegs. Hey, your video's back.
Hey, right on. Awesome. So that's an interesting question, and we've run those numbers several times. So essentially, yes, on a tall can, you do make a little more because there's more liquid going out in the same amount of cans. However, it's not as much as you'd think, because when you package those cans, you're still doing 24 of them, but now you have 6-pack techs instead of 4. You can only put 80 on a skid instead of 100 when you send them to Connect. So your fees for Connect are blended between 80 flats instead of 100. So there is things like they are a little bit better, but it's not a deciding factor. I mean, if you are moving tons and tons of volume over amount of time, yes, yeah, it would be. But also too, you got to think at the end of the day, when someone walks into a store and buys a 6-pack off of a flat, it only takes 4 customers to get rid of that 6-pack. If you're selling tall cans and 4-packs, it takes 6 customers to get rid of that flat. So the same flat, even though there's a little more volume, it takes more customers to get rid of it. So it takes a little bit longer to move that flat. And if it's tall cans, a lot of the time get busted up into singles. And with singles, now you got to have 24 customers that come in and buy that same flat, where with short cans, you got 4.
I've actually gotten, I won't say who gave me a bit of trouble. I actually have been taking some things that were supposed to be single cans and 4-packing them in store and selling them as 4-packs because they'll sell way better. And I actually had somebody phone me like, we like the single can format. I don't approve of you doing this. And it's like, well, here's the nice thing about running your own independent business. I get to do what I want. And you're not going to come here and actually stop me. So no, we actually don't split up very many things. There are some, like if it's going to be $22 plus a 4-pack, we will split it up universally. I don't have any 4-packs on my shelf over $21.95 ever. So some things do get split up, but no, I would much rather sell it as a 4-pack because it sells so much faster.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it depends where it's going and stuff too. But
sure.
we from what we've kind of researched it. Yeah, we'll see once our seasonal's done. I'll answer that question again. Maybe the volumes will move like crazy, and then I'll be leaning on 4-packs. But yeah, that's just what we've kind of learned through everyone we've talked to and where we're at. But yes, tall cans do sell, or you do make a little bit more profit off them.
Beautiful. Anything you want to leave the folks with as we kind of close things up here for the night?
Okay, well, I'll walk you through here.
All right.
Can
Let's
you
see
see
how
me?
our battery life lasts. Yeah, please do.
Okay, so this is, I'll just kind of walk you guys. Just give me 1 sec. I'll get to somewhere where you can see. So this is the back. This is the back of the brewery. There's our mash tun and kettle. So in the corner there, we've got our hot liquor tank and our cold liquor tank. I don't know if you guys can see those or not, but
We can see them just fine.
So the one in the corner, that's our hot liquor tank. So that's what we actually put we reverse osmosis the water 7,000 liters. That's basically what we start our batches with. So everything gets in there. It starts out at a certain temperature, gets fed into the mash tun, and you can see our auger up top comes from the mill room, which is over there. And then I'll just take you to our cellaring department or area here. So this is where all our fermenters are. I don't know, is the light too bad on that?
Nope, it's just fine.
Okay, so this is walking down the fermenters here. We've got a 35 hec bright, and then a 70 bright, a 35 bright, and then all of our fermenters here. So as you walk down, this is where we used to hang out when we were building the brewery, because this is the only place you could get beer. So we would pull off the big tail and stand in here and drink beers at night, and it was really cool. But so this is kind of what we got it set up as, and we built the place as a kind of a knowledge area. Like, we laid it out so you can do really kind of set tours without a bunch of stuff in the way, because Sylvan Lake is such a tourist town. It's nice having people come in and learn about beer. Like, it's not just about drinking the beer and analyzing it and noticing flavor, but it's about learning about how it's made and where their ingredients come from. And there's so much to it, and it's really nice to be able to share that. And I like the way we did it. So also too, I'll just give you a quick view of our tap room here.
Yeah, because we had a few people asking to see the tap room. It sounds really, oh wow, that is really nice.
So this is our tap room.
You're very busy tap room for like a Wednesday night. That's great.
But everyone's like, we've got the tables all distance apart. Everybody's doing the
I realize it's
thing.
half as many people as you normally have in there, but still, it's a great crowd for a Wednesday night.
But this is what we put together, and all the timber frame was done by a Swiss timber framer we know. He did all the work. It's Darren and Jeff.
Hey, Darren and Jeff.
And yeah, so this is kind of the way we've got a nice patio out back. Today's not, well, it might actually be a nicer night. If my phone doesn't die, I'll show you guys the patio here. So when you come, you can order your drinks and walk around back. And then there's a really nice spot we did. Dan actually did all the work back here too. He kind of built us a really nice pergola. Oh, there's sunshine out here.
I think we're about to lose the video from, yep. And that would be the end of his battery life right there. We'll see if we get him back. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't. Oh, there he is. Hey, you're back.
Okay. Did you get any of that? I was out of the Wi-Fi.
Oh, you left the Wi-Fi zone. Okay, wasn't the battery. Yeah. All right.
But anyways, that's our brewery. That's what we built, and I really appreciate you guys having me on here tonight. It's really cool.
No, it's super fun having you. I know that you've been super stoked to do this since like week 1, and we finally had like the beers out and available and in stock that we could actually do this. And like, we did this the second we could. Like, normally the second the cameras go off on the Wednesday, like the next week's beer tasting is available, and you know, you folks were driving down as fast as you could from Sylvan Lake to get here on Thursday. So like, they came out like 8 hours late, but you were like, we have to be in as soon as humanly possible. And I'm so stoked that you came, because like, it's so exciting, because there's so many people I have to like bully into doing this. And you know, once they get into it, they're fine. Like Matt last week for the wine tasting, he was really not sure about the whole thing until he got 2.5 glasses of wine into it, and then he was super on board. But you folks have been like really on board with this whole idea since like day 1 and wanted to do it, and now we finally have the beer to do it, and I'm really excited you came.
You're doing a good thing, man. That's why we want to be part of it. I love it. It's good to get the word out and like what everybody's doing, and there's so much cool stuff. So I'm stoked that you're doing this.
Awesome. Well, thank you, sir. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll catch up with you soon. I'll bring those blackberries down to you.
Absolutely, you will. As much as I'm allowed to buy, or as much as will fit in your car, whichever is higher.
I'll bring the van or the truck this time.
Okay, good.
Okay,
awesome.
See you, Kyle.
Thanks, Adam.
Bye.
Good night. So that was the incredible Adam Nackbauer of Snake Lake Brewing, who came and joined us on a beautiful Wednesday night. I think the thunderstorms have mostly gone away. And I'm Kyle with Andrew Hilton, and that was once again a wonderful Wednesday night beer tasting. So thank you all very much for joining us. We have Bitters and Milds next week, and of course this Friday we have 2 special guests, my dad and Darren Owers of Nugan Estate Wines. I hope you'll join us for one or both of those. In the meantime, have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.